Hey, what's up YouTube? Garotha here. Quickly want to talk about the Boneshatter character. I made a Boneshatter Juggernaut guide for the last couple leagues, and people have been asking me if I'm going to update it for 3.21. And to be honest, not much has changed, but I figured I'd make a quick video to show you guys all the changes that did happen. Gotta talk about it a little bit. Let's get into that. Quick want to mention that the old video is completely up to date, and I decided instead of re-recording that, I would just post an update video describing all the new changes. Yeah, I'll post that in the description. You guys take a look at that if you want to see more in-depth guide. So for leveling, I think the same way you level the same way as you did before. Splitting Seal, Chance to Bleed. They removed Onslaught and added a new gem called Momentum. This will probably be the gem you use, I think, instead of Onslaught. But yeah, I mean, Splitting still got a bit of a nerf. Leveling in general got a bit of a nerf. I think this is still the best way though. Level 12 onwards, you switch to Sunder. Sunder, I think, is gonna be one of the better ways to level in 3.21. Thunder did not get nerfed, and I think, if anything, it'll be better this league. With the Crucible passive trees, we're not sure how it's going to work out, but I'm sure having some passive abilities on your weapon will probably make Thunder even better. Anyway, Thunder is really good until you switch to Boneshatter. Now, Boneshatter, I wouldn't say there's like an exact level to swap to. More like kind of some checkpoints you want to hit before you swap to it. For example, I think you really want Inexorable before you swap to Boneshatter. This gives you the endurance charges when you hit yourself. Quite big for reducing the damage you take. And Untiring. Untiring from Juggernaut gives you your recovery. That, in combination Determination, will make it so you can tank the damage you're dealing, basically. Once you have all this stuff, you could probably swap pretty easily to Boneshatter. Notable changes in 3.21. So a lot of masteries got changed. This isn't a bad thing. If anything, I think this is probably a net buff for Juggernaut. So Determination Reservation is gone. And in its place, we now have 1% maximum res if equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have armor. Overall, it's the net buff, but this does mean we're going to have to run Arrogance on Precision now, because we lost a little bit of mana reservation. The other option is to run Reverie, but I don't think it's worth the points, so yeah, I think this is the better route. There's also another max res on Reservation Mastery now as well. So if you're trying to like stack max res, we got 2% max res that we didn't have before, which is quite nice actually. Let's talk about Suppression. They actually changed Suppression a little bit. You can no longer get 12% Suppression Mastery. They moved that to Evasion. This is fine. You can still go Evasion and Suppression on this character because you're right next to the Evasion node. It's just a couple more points and you'll cap your Suppression quite easily still. However, this is a good time to mention that you could theoretically not run Suppression at all. This would save you 8 points and you could put those into damage, which would allow you to run pure armor with like Brass Dome and have this. You'll probably have like 86% max res pretty easily with the new masteries, like the Armor Mastery, the Reservation Mastery, like all the max res on the tree and on your chest armor, which is definitely a viable option. To be honest, I don't know which way I would go. I think for hardcore, I'd still like to have Suppression personally, but you'll have more damage if you don't go for Suppression. I quickly want to mention they did nerf Molten Shell. But honestly, there's not really much to talk about because it's still the best guard skill by far. But it's worth mentioning that it's now 5,000 maximum instead of 10,000. You'll pretty easily reach the cap, I think, on a Boneshatter Juggernaut still. But yeah, it's worth mentioning. And stance sensing. I want to talk about stance sensing real quickly. So they added a new mechanic in 3.21 where you can get buffs when you change your stance. Now, stances are basically blood and sand, like blood and sand and flesh and stone. These give you your like blood stance and your sand stance. Now, whenever you change a stance with Dance of Blades, notable on the Atlas trait or on the passive trait, you get Onslaught. There's also a mastery that gives you Adrenaline for 1 second. The really broken part about this is if you have blood and sand with these nodes here, the CDR nodes, you'll actually have a 1.05 second cooldown on your blood and sand. So if you have it bound to like left click or, you know, some other unethical way of doing it, you would pretty much always have Adrenaline and Onslaught at the cost of significant like annoying gameplay or potentially some unethical usage of third-party macros. But yeah, so hopefully they change that because it really didn't. It really kind of incentivizes you to use a macro, which I think is bad for the game. And obviously, I don't think it's a good idea. But if you do have the option to take this, I mean, it's right there as this build, so it is what it is. Like, if you want to deal with that, you can deal with that. It's an option. I figured I'd mention it here, but Yeah, I'm against it personally. Panopticon. So if you don't run suppression, or even if you do run suppression, Panopticon is really good for bossing. This is a node I don't have in my normal mapping tree, but this gives you the increased buff effect of your totems, and on the way you get Ironwood, which makes your totems not die. Now, unfortunately, for melee builds, totems are a big part of your damage. They give you a bunch of buffs, and they also do pretty good damage themselves. This is a very good option for bossing. I think it's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about for 3.21. I think overall, the Boneshatter build is getting a bit of a buff in terms of masteries. You do have to spend more points for suppression. That part kind of sucks. But yeah, overall, like, the build's unchanged, or if anything, a little bit better. And that's without factoring in the Crucible tree, which could be potentially insane for a character like this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think Boneshatter Juggernaut will be one of the best starting builds in 3.21, even after all these changes. I'm going to keep this video nice and short for you guys, because like I said, not much has changed. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to post all the good links in the description below. And yeah, hope you guys have a good league start.